Hello student, hope all of you doing well. Assalamu alaikum. Today we are going to explore the property rights. Learning outcomes. After watching this video, you will be able to understand property rights in economics, understanding the property rights, patents, copyrights, importance, characteristics and types of property rights. Now let's start. What are the property rights? Property rights defines the theoretical and legal ownership of resources and how they can be used. These resources can be both tangible or intangible and can be owned by individuals, businesses and governments. In many countries, including United States, individuals generally exercise private property rights or the rights of the private persons to accumulate, hold, delegate, rent or sell their properties. Property rights in economics. In economics, property rights form the basis for all market exchange, and the allocation of property rights in the society affect the efficiency of resource use. Understanding the property rights. Property is secured by laws that are clearly defined and enforced by the state. These laws define ownership and any associated benefit that come with the holding the property. The term property is very expensive, though the legal protection from the certain kind of the property varies between jurisdictions. Property is generally owned by individuals or a small group of people. The rights of property ownership can be extended by using patents and copyrights to protect. What are patents? A patent safeguards an original invention for a certain period of time and is granted by United States Patents and Trademark Office (USPTO) by granting the right to produce a product without fear of competition for duration of the patents. Incentive is provided for the companies or individuals to continue developing innovative new products or services. What is a copyright? A copyright protects works of authorship such as writings, art, architecture and music. For as long as the copyright is in effect, the copyright owner has the sole right to display, share, perform or license the material. One notable exception is the fair use doctrine, which allows some degree of distribution of the copyrighted material for scholarly, educational or news reporting purposes. Examples of the property rights. Scarce physical resources such as houses, cars, books and cell phones. Non-human creatures like dogs, cats, horses or birds. Intellectual property rights such as inventions, ideas or words. Other types of the property such as communal or the government property as legally owned by the well-defined groups. These are typically deemed public property. Ownership is enforced by the individual in positions of political or cultural power. Property rights give the owner and the right holder the ability to do with the property what they choose. That includes holding onto it, selling or renting it out for profit, or transferring it to another party. Acquiring rights to a property. Individuals in a private property rights regime acquire and transfer in mutually agreed upon transfers or else through the homesteading. Mutual transfer include rents, sales, voluntary sharing, inheritance, gambling, and charity. Homesteading is a unique case. An individual may acquire a previously unowned resource by mixing his labor with the resource power of a period of time. Examples of homesteading acts include plowing a field, carving stone, and domesticating a wild animals. In areas where property rights don't exist, the ownership and use of resources are allocated by force, normally by government. That means these resources are allocated by political ends rather than the economic ones. Such government determine who may interact with, can be excluded from or may benefit from the use of the property. The next question is, why is it important to have a property rights? One of the determining factor of the prosperity of a country is respect and protection it accords to the property rights of its citizens. Property rights allow people to be entrepreneurial and enterprise allow people to create wealth and prosper. The security of the property allows people to pleasure their enterprise. What are the main characteristics of the property rights? An efficient structure of the property rights is said to have three main characteristics. These are exclusivity, transferability, and enforceability. Exclusivity, all the cost and benefits from owning a resources should occur to the owner. Transferability, all property rights should be transferable from one owner to another in voluntary exchange. And last one, enforceability, the enforceability of the property rights. What are the four property rights? Here we discuss the four property rights. This attribute has four broad components and is often referred to as the bundle of rights. Number one, the right to use the good, thing that is owned. The owner have a right to use the good. The owner has right to earn an income from it. An owner has a right to transfer it to others, and the last, right to enforce property rights. Now we discuss the types of the property rights. What are the three types of the property rights? In economics and political economy, there are three broad forms of property rights: private property, public property, and collective property, also called the cooperative property. Now we discuss in detail one by one these three types of the property. Private property. The private property include the tangible and intangible things owned by the individuals or firms or which their owners have exclusive and absolute legal rights, such as land, buildings, money, copyrights, patents, etc. Each private property can be transferred only with its owner's consent and by due process such as sale or gift. Private property may consist of the real estate, buildings, objects, intellectual property, for example, copyrights or patents. This is distinguished from public property which is owned by the state or government or municipality. Another example is the public properties. The public properties are land or buildings owned and directly managed by the public authorities which are used for the public purposes. That is the government used for the local community. Some government owned properties con- constitute public goods such as park, libraries, roads, and sewer and water lines. The last type is the collective property. Collective property rights is a shorthand used here for the idea that the territory of the nation state and in particular the parts of that territory that are not private property are owned collectively by the people with the government acting as their agent. Here the assignment 5, I also uploaded this assignment on your easyclass.com. The relationship between the property rights and economic growth and analysis of OECD and EU countries. Here is the downloading link available. I also upload the PDF form paper on the easyclass.com. Thank you for your patience.